Hiya. So it's been a good 24 hours now since the Lions took on the Australia and New Zealand Invitational 15. I think the first thing that's worth mentioning is that Invitational 15 just weren't good enough. Like, I think people sort of roundly hoped it would be a lot better than it was. They came in and replaced the Melbourne Rebels, who the Lions were supposed to play as part of the tour, but they've got into administration. So this team that's comprised of like Australian, New Zealand, the international capped players as well, like international capped players put together. They were given a week, I think they had in training camp. Les Kiss, the coach, had said they'd had a week together. So I think that was quite reflective of how they defended. But the game was just a bit of a rout, to be honest. It was nil at half time, it was nil at full time, and it didn't really ever look like it was going to be anything otherwise. Now, there's that old cliche, isn't there, that you can only play what's in front of you, and that is precisely what the Lions had to do. It wasn't a difficult game by any stretch. I don't think it's going to do a huge amount in terms of changing who's in the Test 23, but I think it probably finalised one or two positions. So if we start up front, the front row, Luke Cowan-Dickie, as you'll have seen, got sparked. So he's not going to be available for the first test. I think that obviously makes Sheehan and Kelleher the favourites. Jamie George is flying out from Argentina today to Sydney and then over to Brisbane for the first test. But I think the two shirts is nailed down. Schoeman running 80, I think, sort of tells you what's going to be happening at loose head, probably with Genge and Porter. And then at tight head, I would probably be surprised if Tyg Furlong isn't starting. But the other two props, I think it's pretty open. They both played a fair amount of minutes, Stewart and Beelum. I don't think anybody really disgraced themselves up front, but again, just there wasn't much going on. There wasn't much of a challenge. But up front, the standout player was Ben Earl. He got man of the match. And I think there was always going to be a bit of a contest between Ben Earl and Henry Pollock, maybe for that 20 shirt. Both of them would be really good selections for the Test 23. But Ben Earl, I think, has pushed himself in front. And I am really intrigued to see who Farrell picks there. I don't think either of them will start. I think Conan's probably got the 8 shirt tied down. I think Chesham probably will start at 6. And I think 7 will be one of the players that, out of Morgan, Curry and Van der Fleer, but I think one of them will get onto the bench. It'll be really interesting to see which one. Like, you know, it's really a spoil of riches, isn't it? When you're thinking that one of them potentially isn't going to be in the test squad. In the backs, there were a couple of really good performances. I thought Ben White was excellent, so I don't think we'll see Ben White next week, but he was really good. He did everything that was asked of him as a 9. I mean, it's how difficult is it to play 9 when you're on the front foot? Probably not as difficult as it will be in other games, but if you're on the front foot, he definitely made the most of it. Van der Merwe scored a hat-trick, but I wouldn't say that it was the most difficult hat-trick to score, and I'm not sure it's going to put him in the test team at this point, but we shall wait and see. Mac Hansen also had a pretty good game. Hugo Keenan, 1, had a good game, and 2, got through without being injured, which is like the number one thing at this point, with Daly going home, Kinghorn carrying a knock, and Marcus Smith being the other option at fullback. So Keenan getting through the game was the number one thing. But the centres, I'd be quite surprised if the Scottish duo didn't start next week, because I think, firstly, they've been the form duo. Ringrose has been good, but I think in terms of if we're going country partnerships of Irish centres or Scottish centres, I think the Scottish centres have been better. And I don't think Ringrose is available next week. I think he's got a concussion. So I'd be quite surprised to see anything other than Tuipulotu and Jones at centre. And with the replacements, Kelleher looked good off the bench. Scott Cummings looked good off the bench, but it just wasn't enough of a contest. 48-0 is just not a contest, and it's not. I don't think it's not what the Lions would have wanted the week before the game. It's not what the fans really wanted the week before the game. It's good to have had a game at least, but going into the first test, it's allowed. I suppose the big positive is it's allowed the Lions to play like front foot rugby. It was basically a team run. But I don't think it will do a huge amount in terms of shaping the test team. But the test team is something that I will look at ahead of next Saturday on YouTube and on the other platform that I use, TikTok. So keep your eyes open for that, because I'll be looking at who would be in my 23, who'd be in Andy Farrell's 23.